Oh, man, look what Bushiro did to my baby. So, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that Prism has been like one of my favorite decks of all time. So, when I first started in G era, still in college, only working a part-time job, didn't have a ton of fun money to just buy whatever deck I wanted, and quite frankly, a lot of decks were just really expensive at the time. So I remember crawling through Bushiroad's website because they do post top decks from events and seeing that Bermuda Triangle, the fan service idol clan, had actually topped an event, and it was Prism because they had just gotten their new support in the most recent clan booster at that time, which had Sunshine Vert and everything in it. And I was like, hmm, that's interesting. Like the funny anime girl clan won an event. Like that's something I could feasibly do. And at that time, Olivia was like $50, so I could not afford to have it. And having Sunshine Vert available as an alternate finisher option was really good. So Prism always kind of had a special place in my heart as one of the first real competitive decks that I played. And I actually brought it to the first BCS I ever attended. Scrubbed out horribly, but that was more of a me problem than a deck problem, I think. So yeah, I've always liked Prism a whole lot. I was always a little disappointed with how the V version went down as well. I appreciated that they were a meta strategy, but I didn't like that it just completely changed the playstyle. We still had some elements of the original Prism where Vert could at least bounce your front row back to your hand, but you had to do all this bind zone stuff. So, when Lyrical Set 4 announced that they would be retraining Prism for D format, I was so excited. And honestly, I was 90% happy with what we got, except for the fact that all of the Prism cards that they introduced had to specifically work with Labrador. They didn't only work if you have any Prism Vanguard. And again, I think Labrador herself is fine. She is actually mostly the same card that she was in the original series, except obviously now without Limit Break and with some slight tweaks. So I think the original didn't give the entire front row power. She only gained power and a critical for herself. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good retrain of the original. It was briefly meta, but my main problem with the deck is that it was just insanely boring. The first time I played the deck, I was really happy with it. I was like, "Ah, man, this really does bring back the feeling of the original G era Prism that I played." And then after a while, it's like, "Okay, but you only have the two names, so uh all of your combos are exactly the same every game. You would just play, this, and then you would play Celtic, and then you would play Laylee." So it was just like, hmm, this is really boring. And the big thing that I wanted for the deck was just more Prism names. And, my concern with everything being tied to Labrador was that, Vert was always kind of her own unit. V era, they didn't even retrain Labrador, they just did Vert by herself. So I was like, okay, what's gonna happen with the second wave of legacy support for this? Are they going to make Vert her own separate Vanguard, or are they just gonna make it support for Labrador? And you know, they did the thing that I really hoped that they wouldn't, which is that Vert is just her own separate unit that does something different. And quite frankly, she's bad. So at base, she has the ability when it attacks, you can choose a rear guard, bounce it to your hand, call a grade 3 or less from your hand to rear guard circle. So basically just a worse Marlene. She doesn't give power or anything, she's just a bounce and a call. The thing that you're supposed to be doing with her is she has the second ability that if you did not ride by card ability, you can Soul Blast 1, choose up to one card with the same card name as this unit, ride it as stand, and if you rode a card, draw, choose one of your vanguards that gets 10k, or if your opponent is greater, then your entire front row gets 10k. So basically, if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, you get a second persona ride. And I think this was to try and like copy the flavor of the original Vert, where she was a brake ride. Except, one of the things about brake rides is it kind of gives you like another ability. So, if Vert had something like, okay, if you do the brake ride effect, you can like get an additional bounce and call, like that would be cool. Or obviously, the thing that I think everyone really wanted was brake riding the original Labrador so that you could kind of copy the idea that the deck had in the original series, as well as G Arrow with like Sunshine Vert, where Sunshine Vert went back into the G zone and then you could ride a grade 3 from your hand. So the idea was like you return Sunshine, you brake ride Labrador on top of the original Vert, and it would be this like big, huge turn that you get. But I didn't do that. Instead, we just kind of have this like really weird, awkward card. And, the problem with Vert is that you're always just going to need two copies of her in rotation at any given time. Because you need one Vert copy to do like a normal Persona ride, and then you're going to need a second one to do the effect ride in order for this deck to be doing anything different from any other deck you could be playing, right? So if you're not doing the double ride, you're basically just playing worse Marlene, and that's no good. And so, yeah, I'm just very sad about the way Vert has worked out in Standard. I'm really sad that, like, all of the legacy Prism support we've gotten doesn't really work well in Premium because, like, trying to play a D unit where you have no way of gaining any extra passive power gain feels really bad. With like crest decks and all the ways you can get extra gift markers in premium right now, trying to like play a version of the deck that doesn't do any of those things just kind of feels bad. Like the passive 5k to the front row is okay when you use Labrador's effect, but it's not enough to really match up to all of the other things going on in the format. And of course, the new version of Vert is just not good at all. Like your opponent has to be grade 3 or greater to get the 10k boost to your front row. So you're not going to be able to match up against like gift markers or like crest decks. And then it's also just very slow. It doesn't work great with like Heltrauda. Like, yes, you can get the extra attack with it. And also, because it's an act ability, you can't even do it with Sunshine Vert. So, yeah, that's very sad for me. And I guess while we're here, we can discuss like a sample deck list for Prism as well, because might as well. We're running the like top idol ride line. I can't believe it took them 2 waves of support to retrain these girls. But I'm glad that they did. I'm so sad that Fizuku is a common, which means I don't have a foiled version of her yet. But yeah, we're obviously running maximum copies of Vert because we have to. We're running 4 copies of Clear because you needed to search out Verts. We're running Franquette because it's a way for you to bounce back either like Clear or if you have to like call Vert to rearguard circle. Same deal with like Yuika, so it can help you recycle Clear or additional copies of Vert. But also, Rosa is an on play where you can like reveal a grade 3 or greater Vert in your hand, or if your Vanguard is Vert, then you can like give it 5k and then Counter Blast 1 to draw a card. So you can also use it to reset that. It's a way to protect you against removal, which is nice. We're playing Flirty because, Vert does return something to your hand, so having Flirty on the field gives you the possibility of making a 5th attack. We're also running Adelheid for that same reason because she needs to only call grade 3s. We're running cyclers because why the heck not? Good early advantage, and the ability to like bounce something at the end of turn with her Persona Ride skill is not terrible. And then finally, we're running 3 copies of Veilfur, so she's the generic card. Vert does need to Soul Blast for her reride ability. Combine that with Yuika, and you do end up using a decent amount of soul, so having an extra soul charge is nice. And then you can also Counter Blast 1 to draw a card, so it's good early advantage. I think any Bermuda deck, or any lyrical deck, sorry, can kind of early game the opponent with just like the bounce sisters of Franket and Yuika, and then Veilfur giving you a bit of extra early advantage is nice to have. So, and then we're just running crits, draws, OT. I went with the red OT just because, like, I think the 5th attack is nice for this deck, but really, I think any of your OT options are viable for this deck, even the lyrical one. So, yeah, I'm just so sad about Vert. It's like an okay card. I think when you do manage to get the double ride, you do get like really big numbers, and if you can get the God combo of the double ride with Flirty, and especially if you just like hard draw or soul charge the overtrigger and it's in the drop zone, there's the possibility of extending to a 6 attack with Adelheid. So it's like if you can super high roll the opponent, it's going to be really cool, but on average, the deck is only just okay, I guess. And that just makes me sad. Who knows? Maybe we'll get like Sunshine Vert retrained into D that can like re-ride on top of Vert and be a better card. So who knows? We could maybe get this deck improved, and it's not impossible that they'll make like more Prism names that are just generic that work across both versions or both archetypes of Prism that they've created. So like maybe Labrador will come back into relevance one of these days and be a more interesting deck with more combo options. We'll see. But for now, I'm just sad, and that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.